All right, everyone. Welcome once again. It is Friday, and that means it is time for the Manufacturing Ecommerce Success Series. I'm one of your co-hosts, Damon Pistolka, and that great person right over there is not Kurt Anderson.
What? I'm just wearing a mask. This is totally Kurt. Come on. Wowzer. Kurt.
We've got Nicole Donnelly in here today. Take it over for Kurt. Sorry, Kurt. You never know. So, Nicole, take it away. We're going to be talking today about building a story that engages customers and staff and really brings people into it. We got Morgan Norris here today. Take it away, Nicole.
Oh, this is so exciting to have another fellow content marketer on the program today. I'm
no doubt
so excited to just hear everything Morgan has to say about all that's happening right now with AI and all of that madness and SEO, and can't wait to hear all about her expertise. She's got so much experience working at TREW Marketing as a brand strategist, senior brand strategist. And so excited, Morgan, for you to be on the show. Welcome. This is awesome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, I think just like my first question is, I hear that you have this amazing chocolate chip cookie. And I have to tell you, if I'm on my deathbed, the number one thing I want is a warm oatmeal chocolate chip cookie. Like that is like my favorite food on the planet. So I want I'm sure it's a secret recipe, but give our listeners a little taste of what makes your cookies so great.
It's a secret recipe. And on occasion, like if you're going to move overseas or if you're on your deathbed, I'll give it to you. But until then, I just deliver cookies to my friends and coworkers. So the thing about these cookies is they're like crusted, you've got kind of a crust on the outside, and they're not, I don't like an underbaked cookie where it's like, glappy, but it's still extremely soft on the inside.
Oh my.
Ooh,
so there's
two little crisp on the outside.
There's two tweaks to the regular recipe, and one is that you cook them shorter at a higher temperature, and the other tweak is in a couple of ingredients, and that's what I can't share.
Oh my.
But we just had a team retreat 2 weeks ago in Florida. Our whole team met together, and I brought frozen logs of cookie dough packed in ice in my checked baggage.
That's amazing.
I could bake them hot and fresh when we got there.
Hot, fresh cookies. Now, are you...
Wendy said cookies made with love.
Awesome. Hi, Wendy. Welcome to the show. Oh my gosh.
All
so
right.
I have to ask, are you an oatmeal or a not oatmeal girl with your cookies?
I love oatmeal, but for these cookies, these are plain chocolate chip cookies. I can do like a snickerdoodle alteration, but that's it. And then I'm going to leave the oatmeal cookies to somebody else to make. Sounds like you.
Oh, there is nothing. I'm like you, Nicole. If I had a cookie like that on my deathbed, I'd go out in style.
Right?
I agree.
Because there's just something about that. Not if the cookie can't be hard and like that.
Nope.
It's not a good one.
Soft. Yeah, but that crisp on the outside, nailed that.
Yep.
Yes,
Sure.
yes, yes. I have one other question about your cookie recipe.
Okay.
Just one kind of chocolate chip or more than one?
Oh.
I put one kind in there, but I'd be open to adding others.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
And actually, if there's a bunch of little kids coming to my house, I don't put chocolate chips in them, and I put a lot of sprinkles so they don't get chocolate all over.
Oh, that's nice.
There you go.
Right?
Love it.
Well, a fun fact is my wife made me chocolate chip cookies for Valentine's Day. That's how much I like cookies.
So, that's awesome. Oh man.
Yeah, it was. So I was like, "Whoa, bonus! This is great."
Oh.
So awesome. So take it away, Nicole. Let's talk about building the great stories. I want to hear these great stories. I want to hear about this.
Yes, tell us. Let's start with that. So Morgan, tell us, what do you guys do when you're working with clients? How do you help them develop their brand positioning and help them identify what their brand voice should be? And maybe tell us a little bit about why is that so important, especially for manufacturers to be thinking about that and planning that?
Yep. So it's a big question, but what happens is we all sit here and we hear about content marketing and we think, I need content and we need a lot of content. What's going to go in it? And realistically, what happens, especially with this really B2B technical audience, or you're explaining complex products, you guys have a sales cycle that is 6, 9, 12 months long. And so your salespeople might be there talking to customers, talking to prospects along the way, but they're not talking to them 24/7. They're not talking to every customer all the time, every day. And so what you need content there to fill those gaps and guide them through that buyer's journey. And so a few things that we like to start with are, the first thing is positioning and messaging. So what happens there is we walk clients through this process where they're going to identify exactly who their customers are and who they're not. I always ask, like, man, what business have you turned down this year? Who did you say no to? Who do you wish you would have said no to, and why? Right?
Yeah.
And you can have a really lively discussion about
That's huge.
Right? We said yes to this, but oh my gosh, we shouldn't have, because
Yeah.
this aspect was too hard, right? Where are those customers? What are their pain points? And I'll touch on that in a second. And then flipping, so those are about your customer, and then flipping to your company, what it is that you offer and how do you deliver it. And if we can identify and define succinctly, if we can define each of those 5 points, who your customers are, where they are, why they need you, and then what you do and how you do it, that is the journey that your customer is going on. And you're going to be able to provide content all throughout that journey, because your content targeting who that customer is, you're just trying to meet them where they are. Maybe they're a new engineering grad right now. Maybe they're even in school right now and you need them. You don't need them to buy anything from you. You need them to use your tools in their lab in university, so that when they have purchasing power, they get there later and they come back to you, right? And so it's being able to nurture people through this process. And one thing we've been talking a lot about lately is interviewing customers. So this, we just did it actually internally at TREW Marketing. We were doing a brand project, and it was hilarious because the same thing happened internally that always happens with our clients. When I say we get together a room, we create like a branding committee. And so ideally that's a kind of a C-level type person. It's somebody that represents sales from a high level, somebody that represents marketing from a high level. And then I also really love to have an on-the-ground salesperson and an engineer working with the products or solutions, get all those voices in one room. But what we do is we say, okay, we want to talk to some customers about what it's like to work with you. And so who would be some good customers to talk to? And somebody will throw out a name and they'll say, well, we know why they like working with us. And I'll say, well, I want to understand, how they found you, why they chose you guys over somebody else. And somebody else will throw out a customer name and they'll say, well, I know they chose us because of this. And that's exactly what our team did. I looked at our president and said, I want to interview some customers. And she said, yeah, but we know about this one and we know about this one. And that's not it. It's not this like general, we know why they're here, where they came from. We want to hear the words that they are using. And we want to hear them articulate the pain points they have in their own words. And so I love to get connected with like 7 to 10 customers. And then we'll ask them questions. We make it really, really easy. A lot of times manufacturers are working with kind of the end customer is maybe selling some kind of solution that has all these manufacturers' products or solutions wrapped up in it. They don't want to talk. They don't want to put their name necessarily to the manufacturer's brand. And so talking to a customer can sometimes, like doing a case study sometimes is like impossible, right? Having some branded named case study. But we just take all of that off the table and say, we just want to interview you to talk about your experience. Even your feedback is going to be presented anonymously with the kind of cluster of feedback that we get from everyone back to leadership, and it's for internal purposes only. And all of a sudden, all those barriers fall down and somebody says, great, give me a call on my way home from work. I'll be in the car at 5:30. perfect.
Ooh.
I just want to ask them a handful of questions about what challenges they face in their day-to-day job. I want to hear what the pressures are they have at work, but also what their goals are personally, right? We want to be that person's hero. We want to give them the product or the solution that they need that makes them excel in their job. And then all of a sudden they become an advocate for us, right? They're going to bring us in later. And so we interview customers and really pay attention to what themes come up. To kind of often you take down kind of notes during those interviews and you start to hear the same things over and over again. So what themes come up and what specific words are they using? And the last thing is, were there any benefits that they experienced that they didn't even know they would experience when they decided to work?
Ooh.
Because we don't want to, those shouldn't be hidden, right? We should get out in front and market those.
Yeah. Like the surprising, but I love that. The surprising benefit. That's a great question.
Yeah.
And I love the I think it's just so key that you're going directly to customers and leading with the customer, and also just hearing the words that they're using to describe the client. That's so huge. Like we do that too, where we put together a word cloud based on that feedback, and you can use that, and it makes it so much easier to create messaging when you're actually using the words that customers are saying, because you're going to resonate with to draw on those people. It's just so much more efficient. That is amazing.
Yeah. We had a customer a couple years ago who created coatings that go on plastic, like a polymer coating that goes on plastic. Okay. And we talked to their leadership team, kind of their branding committee first, and they said, here's why our product is better. And one of the key things they were doubling down on was quality overall in the process. They were messaging quality. And then I talked to their customers, and it turns out what happens, multiple customers mentioned, what happens is if the polymer coating gets messed up and they create scrap plastic, they have to, like, he was like, just envision, we have to like throw it in this bin. When the bin gets to a certain level, we have to melt it all down, stop the plant, and spend an entire day using the plant tools to remelt all this plastic and basically recycle it into something usable again. And he was like, all of a sudden, everything is off track. And so, yes, the message was quality. It needs to be a good product. But the key for those customers, the thing they liked about our client was they were reducing the scrap they were producing. And when we flipped that message and talked about scrap reduction, it immediately related with their prospects. And it's just so interesting because it's the same general benefit, but the words they were using are so important to when you're targeting specific people.
So much more specific. Yeah, Damon.
Well, and they weren't the change there. They were speaking in their customer's voice rather in their voice, because customer is going to assume quality, but how does it really help them? That's what they want to know.
Right.
How does it really help them? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because you said a couple things, and this is one of the things that I really I want to bring back up that I know a lot of people miss in marketing, and it's, if you're in B2B marketing, a lot of times if you're marketing to people in big companies, you have to be, and I love how you're interviewing customers because they've got internal politics they're dealing with. They're understanding their personal goals. What are they trying to do? It's such a big deal in large companies. It's not like, it's much different than if you're selling to someone that's in a smaller company that may have more autonomy and do those kind of things. I mean, there are just certain things that you can do if you understand that can drastically move you up in their priority to work with you.
Right.
You make their life easier, make their chance of success in their position much better with your solutions.
Yeah.
You're going to move up that ladder.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes you uncover some of those more like felt needs like that. Like, you made my job so much easier because this, and this. Like, I want to call you first every time.
Yeah. Well, everybody thinks that people buy because of data. And I personally believe that people buy because of feeling. yes, you have to, you got to rationalize it in the end, but that decision to buy is really emotional. And the rationale behind it just has to mean it's not a really dumb decision I'm making. Because I'm going to try to rationalize it if I really believe I'm really emotionally strong in it. I mean, how many times, I don't know, people go out and buy a new car and they got one, their other one sitting there that's just fine, but I need that. There's so many things that we do like that, and that happens. And I think if you can, with like you guys are doing, understanding the goals, understanding the day-to-day challenges of these people, to really help them and get that feeling right, you can move up that ladder.
Yeah, and get them to be known as the person who's making good decisions and who's selecting good products, implementing good software and systems.
Yes. Awesome.
I love that. So I have a question for you about the buyer's journey. Like, typically, what percentage of the content that you create usually for your clients is going to be more of that like top of funnel, like demand gen kind of content? And what percentage of it is more like the middle of the funnel, more end of the funnel? Like, how do you kind of break that down? What's your process for that? And what do you see works really well now?
So a few things going into that. We find that a little over, engineers, technical audiences are saying that a little over half of their buyer's journey they're doing online first on their own. Before they're engaging with sales. The point that they want to tip over and engage with sales is when there are a few things. They realize their challenge they're trying to solve is so technically complex that it's going to involve talking to a person, right? And at that point, they've usually narrowed down pretty close to a couple vendors. So that's kind of one thing to keep in mind. There's got to be a decent amount of content out there in front of you to kind of pave the way there. But then one of the biggest things to look at is just where are your gaps? I think we pull numbers and data. And so if we look at your total, contacts, and we're having trouble turning those contacts into marketing qualified leads or sales qualified leads, where those gaps are where we want to supplement with content. So if we've got a lot of contacts, but they're not qualified, we want to try and do some gated type content, some webinars and white papers and things like that to draw people into a next step and to get them to engage. And that's kind of where some more marketing automation tools come in. But definitely when we start, the higher level brand content has got to be there to sustain people throughout their journey. We do this writing course every year where we take people in and kind of go through a 6-week writing training, and they get coaching along the way and things like that. And it's often people who they're responsible, either marketing isn't the only part of their job. They've got some marketing in there and they need to get up to speed on some tools and practices to make content development easier, or they're the only marketer in their company and they're kind of facing all the pressures at once. But one thing, I had a woman take this course last year, and she wrote a white paper, and she said, I'm getting like astounding results on people downloading this white paper. She was posting about it on LinkedIn. They included it as a CTA from an article that they put in a trade publication, and the numbers are going through the roof on downloads. And she said, but after somebody downloads the white paper, I email them and ask them if they want to meet. And I'm getting like no responses. And it's because they're not ready. They're not ready, right? We just introduced them to your brand, to your approach to solutions. And now we've got to wait and nurture them a little bit with some more content over time. So let's schedule out kind of, e-newsletters at the end of every month with a roundup of content that's targeted towards them. So making sure we're doing that nurturing is, I think, the most important versus kind of a number of pieces there. But you definitely need the content that people can go and access without you is important.
Yeah. I love that. I love what you said there too about nurturing. And I think that's like so hard sometimes for business leaders to get their heads around, is that it's not going to be a one touch and you're going to have a lead kind of situation.
Right.
Like there's like a
Mhm.
foundation that needs to be built and a relationship. It's like, you know, you don't ask someone to go out on a date with you and then ask them to marry you on that.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, there is a
Yeah.
process there. And I think that's important that buyer or, you know, business owners and leaders understand that this is, you know, very much a relationship. As Damon has said before on my podcast, marketing is farming, and it's all about that long-term kind of investment. So that's great.
Yeah, you do. You have to. We got a lot of guests here. I want to
Yeah.
point out a few. Wow, we got people in here. We got Vina and Gary. Of course, Wendy was here earlier, and Matt said yes. Nicole, Whitney from Texas, and Whitney was nice enough. She said it was glitching, so she put the Facebook thing in here. The cookies
Awesome.
got a lot of comments so far. And Brandon says, how do we move past the cookies? I agree, Brandon. I'm still back there with you
Talk
somewhat.
about cookies.
Yeah. We got to talk about some of the legit question. Who else? We got Sarah. We got some names I can't pronounce, but I'm going to put you on the screen. We got someone from Morocco. Now I'm getting down because there's some good ones here, because this is where Whitney was talking about LinkedIn glitch, but this is one, and I can't pronounce your first name right off the bat, but this is awesome. Tell me a story and I will live in my heart forever.
Ooh, that is so good. It's so relevant for today. So
yes.
I
saw that. I was like, this is awesome. Then we got Ingor. And yeah. So thanks so much. Thanks so much, everyone, for being here. We've got Morgan Norris with us today. So continue on. This is awesome. This is awesome.
Well, I have another question for you just about SEO and AI. As everyone in the world has been hearing about ChatGPT, it's like exploded. It's everywhere. We have to talk about it, right? Because we are content creators, all of us here on this panel. And so it is definitely impacting us. It's impacting our clients. And I think, you know, as marketers, we have to be ahead of it. We've got to be staying up to date because the changes are happening all the time, right? So I just was talking with Wendy the other day, and she was telling me that you guys just did this really great experiment on what the results are from, you know, ChatGPT and how that compares to, you know, a real human writer, if you will. So I think I would love to just like hear more about that experiment. You can share that with the listeners first. And then I have some follow-up questions for you about like what you see, how you see this changing SEO going forward.
Yeah. Okay. So this is, so it's timely because we just put together a guide on this, and I'll drop it in the chat in a second when I stop talking, but put together a guide on using generative AI for content development, specifically for communicating about technical B2B complex topics. And what we did, so what's happening is Google right now is really favoring answers to direct questions. And so you think about when you go to Google and you type in a question and it pops up those little like snippet answers, they are, everybody wants snippets, but also snippets mean somebody's not necessarily coming to your site. They're getting their question answered and they're not even touching your brand, your anything. They're getting like your sentence answer. So I have mixed feelings about snippets. Fine. But Google is favoring these quick answers, which pairs with this rise of AI generated content, which means we can go into a tool, type a question, grab an answer, dump it on our site. Okay, great. Problems with this are it's not any sort of branded content. I'll talk about benefits in a minute because there are some benefits right now. But some of the issues that we're seeing is it's not branded content. And actually, if you try and get it to write about a brand, you hit a lot of snags, because what these tools do is they're kind of scouring all of the available information and processing and regurgitating it in a different way. And so plagiarism doesn't seem to be an issue, but they're paraphrasing and rewording stuff. And what you don't want is your brand reworded. I tell our clients, like, we do a brand messaging project and you have messaging and you in a year, you're going to come back to me and say, maybe we should redo our messaging. And I'm going to say no, because you interact with your messaging every day and you might be tired of it, but your customers don't. They interact with it like once a month or when they're in the sales process with you. That's it. They need years and years and years of that brand messaging coming over and over again. And if you try and write about your company or anything proprietary through an AI generator, it's just going to turn it into kind of like generalized mush. And so don't do that. So those are kind of issues that we're seeing, as well as like technical. You'll find like technical inaccuracies and stuff. We were talking about this before we started, but part of it is engineers we find will search, they'll go through, at least half of engineers will go to page 5 on search results to find the answer that they need before they even click on anything, right? So they're scouring through 50 results to find the right one, and to just assume that you're going to ask a question and the answer that's spit out is the one that is appropriate for your audience is pretty naive to think. And so there's a lot of like hesitancy there. Things that these tools are working for, I think, are they make a really good like brainstorm buddy. They make a good phone a friend.
Yep.
So I love that, phone a friend. That's awesome. Right? It's awesome to think about like as a research tool.
Yeah,
like,
a research tool.
Yep.
And in the same way, though, that if I was going to write about test and measurement equipment and what companies are facing when products go obsolete, I would pitter around Electronic Design Magazine and I would read some articles there. You kind of jump around. And so this is just one more tool that you can kind of use to jump around in there. I think sometimes writers have a hard time going from blank page to like your introduction sentence. And so great, use a tool like this to just be that friend as you're sitting by yourself with your computer to kind of go back and forth with. That works fine. What we did on our site, and we kind of posted this all in this guide, is there are 5 different examples that we used, and we walk through what tool we used. So we used Jasper, which is an AI content writing tool. They have an SEO integration as well. We used Co-Write, which is a program by the platform Writer. We used ChatGPT, and we used Magic Write, which is built into Canva, which is a design tool that we already use. So that one's low-hanging fruit. But we walk through kind of what we input, what it output, and then if and how we were able to use that. And so we did some different things like headline generation. I had one do an entire blog post on a technical topic, and then I posted the marked up version, started with the AI version, and then posted it marked up where it ended. And the final post, probably 96% of it was different. So,
and I bet it took so much more time just to mark it up and edit it, right?
That's what I was telling Wendy. I said I didn't definitely when I went to write the next one, I did not use the tool again. Right? Just because it took more time to actually comb through content that it created.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think just thinking about this, the other thing that comes to mind is just truth. Like there's no way for this tool to determine what's actually true. These tools, the way that they're built, the way that they're designed, is it's just the more data that they ingest, they say they're going to get better and they're going to be more refined, but there's still no like source. There's no way to determine what's true and what's not true. Right. And that opens up a whole can of worms, because then if they were designed that way, who decides what's true and what's not, you know? Right. So I think anybody using them has to go into this, you know, has to know like, okay, I can't confirm that what this is spitting out is actually the truth. And if you're dealing like you are with very technical buyers who are very niche, that's another challenge too, is like, there may not be content out there that they can even pull from, because what the technical topics you're talking about are so niche, right?
Right. For sure. And things like ChatGPT haven't, their splash screen comes up and says it stopped culling data in 2021, I believe.
Yes.
So
yes.
Anything new might not be helpful.
Yeah. It's got to stay relevant. And there's so many things. It's like you talk about, you look at you take that, as we were talking before we got on today, one step further and Google with the snippets, and if AI changed a Google search to I search for something and it comes up with the answer.
Mhm.
You talked about the engineers going to page 5 to find the right answer. How do you really believe that you're going to be able to do that right answer over time for so many different questions?
Yeah. And I see on there, Gary asked about, is it possible to train ChatGPT through conversation context? So ChatGPT actually right now is starting to add ChatGPT Plus, which again, this is something that the news is coming out every day.
Yes.
So that's definitely a next step. So things I'm excited to see in AI tools is I would love to put in a 4,000 word white paper and have it produce a 3 blog series for me, and like write the intro and the outro and like reference the 2 between them. Like, not a big deal, but that would save me 40 minutes. And so there's some things like that. There are some training tools where the training tools right now are working are, so I mentioned Co-Write, which is an AI generator tool from the company Writer. And Writer also has a tool. They started with a tool that's similar to Grammarly. If you use Grammarly, that gives you suggestions and stuff. But in Writer, you can like set your parameters and your tone, and it basically, you write then in the platform, and it will say, hey, based on your style guide, you need to refer to this product like this, or
amazing.
Even just the little stuff like, as a company, you use an Oxford comma, or you like input your style guide, the way that you talk about products, the way that you both style and substance. So like things like capitalization and grammar, but also, you're right. It looks like you're writing this at a 12th grade reading level, but your style is set to like 8th grade or whatever. And so it can do that. I actually had an interesting conversation in content marketing world last year with somebody who had taken our writing course, and he's now, his company has acquired multiple companies, and he has acquired all these marketers. And he said, I think I'm going to try, instead of hiring an editor, of buying the Writer platform, inputting all of our style, and having all these teams use it so that all the content that's coming out of now one umbrella parent company looks and sounds the same.
Interesting.
There's just so many different ways that we're going to see this used in the future that are going to be beneficial. It's not going to, I look at it like you said earlier, Morgan, it's an assistant. It's a tool to help you. It's your buddy when you're sitting there alone, brainstorming buddy, I think you said, or something like that. That's I've really found it helpful for that with my writing, because that your blank page staring, and you go, okay, I'm going to ask 2 or 3 questions to get me thinking in ChatGPT, and it spits out what you want, and you go, oh, there's a piece. Now I'm going to start writing.
Yeah, it'll get you in the right mind frame, right?
Yeah.
I just read this.
To let it go. Go ahead, Nicole.
I was going to say, I just read this really great quote from a copywriter, Jonathan Spooner, and I just loved it. It just says, technology is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. And I think this is a perfect example of this. Like,
there you go.
And it's true for any like technology that's come out. Like, think about when iPhones came out, there's like so much good and so much bad that comes of any new, the atomic bomb, for example, like so many things. So there's going to be good and bad that's going to come from this. And I think, like it's going to be great for, making it faster to create like, repurposing content. I think like turning blog posts into social media posts, audio transcripts into blog, all of that. I think it'll be really, really great for. That's how we're using it at our team.
Right. And I think there's these AI content development tools are coming out, and people are getting really excited by that news. But I think we forget we've been using some of these tools. We've been using, this stuff has evolved, right? Because yes, you don't need a transcriber anymore. We can put this video recording in and get it 90% there through a voice to text kind of program.
Like
And
Otter
those are-
AI, which we love.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah. Use it every week.
Yep.
But I think there's also something for like small business owners who don't have like a content writer on staff. I think there might be a real like they might be really tempted to just, and I know many of them are right now, going to the Chat GPT and saying, write a blog post for me on this topic. And I think there's real danger for small business owners or people that don't have the resources in house to do that, to approach it that way and just think about this as being like a way for them to generate like unique content, because it's just not, that's not, I don't think, how it should be used or how it's designed or how it's going to work truthfully.
Right.
To help you.
So we do, like, man, as marketers and businesses, Google's algorithm updates can be painful at times, but often.
You said that was so like calmly.
Yeah.
That is like, very, it can be very painful and very emotional for,
But they are often, they're constantly solving for some kind of issue that's coming up. And you had mentioned SEO before, but we're going to have new problems, and the new problems are going to be generically junk content that's created, and then bounce rates, right? Because if you're writing to answer a specific question, or kind of those like listicle BuzzFeed type articles that's like, 10 reasons your makeup's not staying on, whatever, right? Like, it can write that for you. And then as a reader, you scan that and you are off that page in 3 seconds, and you haven't engaged with anything. You have no recollection of what brand you went to. And so I do think that there will be a push to create even stronger, more unique content to really capture audiences and gain traffic that way.
Yeah, I think like even this is a perfect example of something that AI can't really replicate, is investing, for manufacturers out there, really thinking about how can you get involved in live events, podcasting, these types of situations where you're basically creating thought leadership in real time, and positioning yourself as an expert versus something derivative that an AI bot can pull off the web, from anything. So I think it's a good something for people to be thinking about. Damon, you're like ahead of the curve here. Who knew you were going to be ahead of the curve?
No way. I'll never say that.
125 episodes in.
when you talk about it, Morgan, and the people that you talk about engineers and stuff. I did at one time back in the Stone Ages, went to school for engineering, and the technical stuff that they're talking about, whether you're talking about transducers or design or whatever the heck you're talking about, I think a live discussion and the content you generate from that is so powerful, because again, you come back to, why do people want to learn more about you, the problems you're solving and things like that? Yes, they want to learn how to solve the problem, but they also want to learn about the people that are solving the problem that they would have to be working with. And I think that what we're talking about and really is it's the title, building a story that engages customers, that brand voice. And if your brand voice is going to be, yes, I can teach you how to do, nuclear fusion if that's what you want to do, but we're going to have fun doing it. And you're going to be, comfortable alongside us the whole way, because we help people this way. And they get to know that part of it that really allows them to engage with the brand and the people.
Well, and it opens up the organization too, I think, because in the past we've thought, okay, our CEO needs to be our thought leader, and they're going to get out there and they're going to speak at this conference and they're going to author this article, and this is it. And all of a sudden now, this has gotten to be a layered approach, right? As a company, we've got to decide, what topics are we ahead on? What topics are we so entrenched in that we know them back to front and can talk about them? What does it look like for the CEO to talk about that? What does it look like for the VP of engineering to talk about that? And what does it look like for the design group manager and the new designer that we just hired out of school? What does it look like for all of them to talk to that message? And I think that that will become so much more powerful. And we are going to have to switch the conversation so quickly because like you better believe my kids aren't going to turn in an art a paper on the 5 main themes of the Great Gatsby. Like they can write that in 2 seconds with these tools, right?
Yeah.
They're going to have to be it's going to have to be kind of processed knowledge and things that can be delivered on the spot. You've got to own it so well that you can talk to it on the spot. So
yeah, I think it speaks to like the importance of companies to really have strong points of views, whatever the topic is, whatever their point of view is, to have a point of view so that it's not just like generic, whatever. Like, and I think that's really great that you know, what you just suggested there is like going, you know, as business leaders, really asking them, what are the topics that you want to be known for, that you have deep expertise on, and like really getting focused and strategic about that, and making sure that where you're creating content, that you're really having a strong point of view on those topics.
Yep, for sure.
And then you said process knowledge. I wrote it down just because I think that is where if you have, like you said, you're building the right story, but then you can share process knowledge with people. I'm not just talking about how I do nuclear fusion. I'm talking about how you can do nuclear fusion. It's how I've done it, and the challenges we've had, and what we're going to need to look at in the real world, and all this other stuff that makes us feel, well, it brings the human element into what we do.
Yeah.
And that's where people can engage. And we come back again to, you know, people do business with who they know, like, and trust.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, that also speaks to kind of Google's changes with their algorithm. It's always historically been EAT, right? Like expertise, authority, and trust are the 3 main things that they use to kind of rank content. And that's shifted to be this new, like, they've thrown an experience now. It's not just expertise, authority, and trust. Now they're also ranking based on experience. And I think this is all going to just continue to evolve in that direction, where people, you know, they want to hear your experience. They want to hear your stories. They want to hear how you did it. And, you know, and that's what people are going to use. That's going to be kind of like the thing that they're going to be using to trust you, essentially.
Yeah. It's going to require leadership to open their hands a little bit, and both kind of give the training that's needed throughout the organization for people to be able to talk to some of these topics, and then also be willing to do that. I remember working for, you know, technology companies in the early 2000s, and we would have people, really fantastic engineers, but that from that C-level space, that they're saying, no, don't let them talk. Don't let them talk. Like, we need to be in complete control of the message. And but we're going to have to just give some training, and then be willing to open that hand if we want to stay engaged in the conversation at every level. So
I think that's really great advice, because I will tell you, some of my clients have voiced that same concern to me. The leadership is like, I'm not comfortable with some of our staff members going out and posting on LinkedIn. I love that approach of like, okay, well, if that's the case, you know, how can we address that objection from senior leadership? Well, we need to make sure that we're training them, and that they, you know, they have really a good understanding and knowledge of these topics, so that we're not going to worry what they're going to share and whether or not it's accurate. That's really great advice. I love that.
Yeah. Well, we're running into our time, and I want to say a couple things. Morgan, you guys are speaking at the Electronic Rep Association conference next week in Austin. Tell us a little bit about what's going on there.
We are, yeah. Wendy and I are leading a session that's Monday and Tuesday next week in Austin. Electronics reps, manufacturers, and there we're going to be we'll talk a lot about kind of research and buying habits of technical audiences, and then really kind of digging into crafting your message, creating content that's strong and can live there for your prospects to engage with when they're not engaging with you personally. And so that'll be next week. We're looking forward to it.
Oh my gosh. I saw you guys present at the Industrial Marketing Summit last fall, and I was just like blown away. You guys did such a tremendous job together presenting on the buyer's journey.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
So anyone out there, if you have a chance to see Wendy and Morgan in action at an event, they are just they do such a superb job. I learned so much from
Awesome.
them during that presentation. And I know that anybody who goes there and sees you guys in action is going to be such a great experience, and they're going to walk away with tons of information. So
Thanks.
check that out.
Appreciate
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm not usually doing this, but I tried to share the link to your marketer guide to generative AI in the post. So hopefully it got there. I put it in there. Want to thank you for coming today, Morgan.
Yeah, awesome, thanks for having me.
And it's always nice having Nicole here.
Woo! Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's never the same without
Good job.
Kurt. We miss you. Come back.
Yep.
Wowzer. Where's Kurt Anderson when you need him?
Right?
Yep. That energy. But yeah, this has been super fun. It's been really an honor to be able to have this conversation with you, Morgan, because I just have so much respect for you and look up to you. So
I'm so cool.
Honored. So thank you.
So cool. Thanks. Thank you so much for sharing the information. And Matt had one question at the end. It's when we were talking about employees and other people being at. I think what you said, Morgan, was relevant for this too. You know, if you're going to have an employee that wants to start a podcast for the company, you just need to make sure that you're or be on one, or you're going to be on one. Everyone should know, you know, what the expectations are. And I think then let them go.
Yep. Yep. And if you want to start one, go be on a few first, and then decide if you really want to start one or if you would just like to be on them.
That's a really great point. And I think progressive companies, they're going to have to be thinking, the companies that decide to do this kind of work, do the podcasting, those are the ones that are going to be succeeding in the years ahead. So you got to get on the train.
Yep, for sure. Yeah. For sure.
That's for sure. So Morgan, what's the best way to get a hold of you too? I always like to make sure people understand that.
Yeah. You can connect with me through LinkedIn, or my email address is Morgan, MORGAN @TREW Marketing, TREW marketing.com.
All right. Awesome.
Email me.
Awesome. All right, Morgan. Well, next time I come to Georgetown, it's just around the corner.
I know.
So fun.
That sounds excellent.
We can go get a cupcake at the Georgetown Cupcake.
And I will bring you cookies.
It's not a cookie, but maybe we can do a trade. I'll get you a cupcake. You bring me a cookie.
Let's do it.
We'll be happy.
Sold.
That would be an awesome day. Well, thanks everyone for being here. Thank you for being here, Morgan. Nicole, thanks so much for helping today and co-hosting. So incredible getting to have you. And today, talking you and Morgan, the conversation was really, really special to be able to listen to. Yeah. And thanks everyone else for being here today. We have too many to mention, but we appreciate you all. Come back again next week. We'll have another episode of Manufacturing Ecommerce Success. And who knows who you'll see on.
Ooh, mystery.
Have a good one, everyone.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited. All right.
Yeah. All right. Hang out for a minute, Morgan. We'll talk when we're done.